how do I make something that's kind of cylindrical? And then how do I make lights in Stager once I bring that in? So we're going to make it a couple of videos here. Hopefully they'll give you some techniques on how you might be able to build something like that and then bring it in and play with those elements. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go to what else? SketchUp. Here we are. I want to show you a couple of handy little techniques. I want to make like a floor lamp with a shade on it and a base. And so you kind of want to think about the profile of those things. I'll show you what I'm talking about. First thing I want to do is grab my rectangle tool. And of course, my rectangle tool wants to draw on the ground. But if I tap my left arrow key, it will let me draw a rectangle vertically in space. Cool. So what I'm going to do is come in here with my rectangle tool again, R for rectangle, and just tap that and say, well, I want my pole to be kind of like that, the pole of the lamp. And then what I'm going to do is get my 2-point arc, A for 2-point arc, and I'll draw on the face. I want to kind of get this. You'll see what it's doing. It wants to make a bump up. I don't want to bump up. I want to bump down. But you want to make sure that you are on the face. Right there it says on face. And then I can come back with my 2-point arc again and come out here and say I'm going to make that happen there. And then when I pull that up, it'll say tangent at vertex. That means it's a nice long smooth curve. And then maybe L for pencil, and I'll just close that off right there on edge. So what that does is give me 2, 3 surfaces on this shape. E for eraser tool, and get rid of all that stuff. Now I've just got this little bump here. I think what I'll do is make that pole a lot taller. So I'm going to grab this is the top edge of that pole, M for move tool, and drag that up, say, what have I got there? 27 feet. Maybe that's a little bit on the tall side. Maybe I just want to be like maybe a 5-foot tall lamp. That tells me that that foot that I originally drew is quite big. So I don't really want that to be gigantic either. Maybe what I'll do is scale that and pull that back a bit so it's not quite so stupid looking. It's going to give me kind of a tapered look on that pole too. And maybe that's okay. Maybe I'll pull that down a little bit too. So anyway, you can kind of fool around with this stuff until you're more or less happy, but there's a lot you can do. The other thing I want to make is the shade up on the top. So I'm going to get my rectangle tool again and click on this edge and draw again on the, I might have to tap my little left arrow key. And then what I'm going to do is just draw a shape on this that will let me make a shade. So I might come out here to the corner, click there, say that's the angle that I want, make that maybe just a little bit farther over, and then come back here and give myself another shape right there. Cool. E for eraser tool, get rid of that stuff, get rid of that stuff. And now what I've got, and also maybe this stuff over here, whoop. And now what I've got is that kind of shade shape hanging in space. C for circle tool, click at the bottom. I want to be on the, oops, I already started drawing it. C for circle tool, click there. I want to be on the blue axis, right? I want to draw a circle underneath that. This is how you make cylindrical objects. So what I'm going to do is grab my path tool shape. So if I tap my space bar to get my cursor, tap this outside circle, the outside perimeter of that, and then say follow me tool, this shape. I want that to be, whoa, a base or a shade rather for that lamp. And then I can do the same thing, come back here again, tap my spacebar, get that outside path, tool, shape, whoop, cool. And then same thing with the bottom, with that base that we've made. And so then path, tool, shape, and now what I've got are 3 things. Now, what I want to emphasize, again, I can, use the scale tool to fool around with this. Is kind of fat, but that's okay. Something that's going to be useful later is that if I'm going to Stager, Stager will let me put materials and treat these objects differently if I save them differently. So what I want to do is triple click this. That's not attached to anything, right? That's just kind of floating in space. So if I triple click that and say I want to make this into its own group, right click, control click, make me a group, triple click that one, control click, make me a group. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this as lamp, save, lamp, SketchUp 2023, yay. And I'm going to switch back into Stager and say, give me a new document. Hello, Stager. And there we are. So I've got a blank stage upon which to work. And I'm going to go to my file, import, and say, bring me in my new lumpity lamp. And there it is there. Well, it's coming in. Do you want me to generate UVs? I do. You won't, but I will. I'll ask you to do it anyway. Plop. And it comes in ginormously, ginormous. As you know, you can use the trackpad just to scroll in and out. You can also, of course, tap your 1 key to orbit around and see how things are going. You can tap your 2 key to pan back and forth, up and down, and then 3, of course, takes you in and out, just like 2 fingers on your trackpad. So now what I've got is an object inside my scene. Here's what I wanted to point out. Look up here in my scene window. I can pop that open and say, I want to play with group 1. Group 1 is the lampshade by itself. Group 2 is the lamp base by itself. Cool. So if I wanted to apply different materials, do things to it, I can do those in here. At the risk of making this video too long, I just want to quickly show you what you can do. I'm going to close those guys up, go to my materials window, and say group 1, I want to fill that with, say, paper. There's a nice paper one down here somewhere that I hope I can find quickly. Milk, ice, spots. Oh, I'm not going to find anything in here that I want to use, am I? What if we fill it with milk? Let's try that instead. So it pops that material in here under properties, you can see. And then what I can do is come down here underneath properties, and I've got an opportunity to play with opacity. Did I walk right past it? I might have walked right past it. There it is there, opacity. It's set to 1, which means 100% opacity. But I can turn that down and say, I want that to be like, 50% opaque. Great. Then, of course, group 2, I can apply anything else to it and say, well, I want to make that out of cracked. What is that? Porto Santo. Wow, I love that talk. So now I've got a really nice look there. Then what I can do, again, I'm hoping that this video is not too long and brutal for y'all, but what I want to do is come back here. I can also just click on this lights and say, give me my lights. I'm going to grab a point light and put it in here, add it to the scene, and then what I can do is move that. If I grab my V tool, V lets me grab elements and put them in. So I can grab that and pull that in. I'm going to put that up inside the shade. I'm going to have to kind of fly around here until I can see where I am in space. You see what I mean? You have to kind of figure out where you are and then move your objects accordingly. But you can see I'm just grabbing those move arrows and moving that. Again, I'm going to grab my 1 key, zoom around inside here, kind of figure out where I am. It looks like I'm up inside the shade. I think I might be working now. So great. So then what I can do with that shows up here, point light, and I've got the ability to come back here and convert things like the object itself, the exposure of it, how bright it is, the intensity of it. And then I can turn on ray tracing and start to see how that plays, how that light bulb plays. You can see it lights up this side, creates a shadow on the other side. We're starting to get a little bit of an effect. So that's probably what I would do for lighting, is to put light bulbs up inside light shades like that, control opacity and things like that, set some other elements around there. You can have a lot of fun with this stuff, but it does get complicated, I'm not going to lie, and it's helpful to do things like turn on ray tracing or go back and actually run a render, maybe fairly low res, just to see what's going on with that. But hopefully that is helpful for at least a start on how you might play with some of this stuff. So long.